Hello, hello. Okay, I don't know what is going on today, but this is the third or fourth attempt that I am doing to record this, and it's very interesting, and I'm getting very curious about it because normally these things flow out of me so easily, and this actually ties in perfectly to what I want to talk to you guys about because I could sit here and judge myself for the struggle bus I'm on trying to record this teaching for you. And instead, I'm just getting curious. I'm getting super self aware and I'm asking myself, why? Why do you think that this feels harder for you today, Emily? Why do you think that you're on your fourth or fifth attempt to record this? And it's so perfect for what we're talking about today, which is all about self awareness. And in practicing self awareness, one of the best things you can do is not harshly judge yourself, but rather get super curious about why you're behaving the way you're behaving and ask yourself, why? And it's so funny because as I clicked record for the fifth time, I had a thought right before, oh shit, this is great. I literally just practiced self awareness right before I hit record. And I asked myself, after I ended the last recording and I ended it and I was thinking, what the hell? Why am I struggling today? Why can't I do this? And I said, well, Emily, why do you think that is? And I said, I know what it is. I prepared too much, which sounds weird, but this is what my brain told me. It said, Emily, you prepare too much. You have too many notes in front of you. You know this information. You know this stuff. You just need to speak. You just need to let loose and talk about what you love to talk about. And it's going to come out more naturally. And that's exactly what I did. And so now that's exactly what I'm doing. I trust that I know about the topic self awareness, the topic of self awareness. I practice it every day in my life. I teach my clients how to do it, and everybody has a different idea. Everybody, well, there's very similar ideas, but there's so many different ways. So I'm going to share with you today my understanding, my knowledge base around it, and how I use it in my day to day life, and how I help my clients use self awareness. So, if you haven't listened to my podcast episode 14 on thought awareness, make sure you do that because these go hand in hand with each other. And a really important point that I know I made in that podcast, and I say all the time, is that we are not our thoughts. And actually, the self awareness theory, I was doing some research before this. There's a self awareness theory, and that is what it says, that we are not our thoughts. We are the observer of our thoughts, which there's so many layers here. And I do talk about that in the other podcasts too, but we are not our thoughts. We are so much more than our thoughts. And in practicing self awareness and becoming more self aware, you have to start watching your thoughts and asking yourself lots of questions. So, I'm going to give you lots of tips and tools that I use on myself and hopefully a better understanding of what self awareness is and how you can begin to become self aware and why you want to. So, why do you want to become more self aware? Well, it is the very first thing that you must do in the world of self development. If you want to improve your life, if you want to change your life, you have to know what you need to improve upon, what you want to change, or what you're already doing amazingly and you want to bolster, right? So another definition of self-awareness could be it is a way to understand your strengths and weaknesses, to understand why you behave the way that you do. I like to call it I just created my own little definition, and that is that to me, self awareness is lovingly getting to know myself without judgment, without that harsh judgment. And this is something that I see a lot with my clients and with myself. I had many moments today in my journal where I was practicing self awareness. I guess that's the first tip I just gave to you. Journaling is a beautiful way to practice self awareness to become more self aware. But in noticing the in my writing today in certain areas where I'm questioning, right? I'm asking myself, hmm, why am I thinking about this so much? Or why do I feel shame around this? I noticed some shame and guilt come up this morning when I was journaling around certain things going on in my life. And I wanted to judge myself for that. And here comes my loving self-awareness. I call it my watcher. I call it my higher self, my inner voice. I call it my connection to God and source energy in the universe and all of those things, whatever resonates most with you. Oftentimes, self-awareness for me, oh, can you hear those sirens going? Oh, I hope not. Sorry about that. Self-awareness for me is a practice of love, is a practice of self-love. And I always tell my clients there are layers to this. And oftentimes they think they're in awareness, but a tip that I give them that I encourage you guys to hold on to if you take anything away from this is that awareness is always loving. It should be always loving. Self-awareness should not be judging you. It's just so curious and it's there to guide you. Because if you think you're in awareness and you're being so self-critical and you're judging yourself or other people, then how are you going to grow? That's actually going to make you take a step backward rather than a step forward towards the person you want to be or the relationship you want to have or the goals that you want to achieve. So when you think of awareness, just please remember that awareness is always loving. So, a lot of my clients, when they start learning and becoming more self aware, it's very confronting. And this is like the tricky part, and why I think some people resist certain self help things, or going to therapy, or hiring a coach, or sharing things with their friends or loved ones because they're fearful of confronting the negative sides of them. Or I don't even want to say negative, just the areas that they could and possibly should improve upon in order to really live life fully and to love more and to be more fulfilled and just be the best version of you. And when we're so used to our current behaviors and yeah, and we're in this cycle, it's hard to break them, right? If we think of habits, which self-awareness is really great to build habits, which that could be a whole other thing. But if we think of habit building, you have to be aware of what it is you're doing and what it is you're not doing. So if you have the habit of eating late at night and snacking, oh, that's one of mine. But I'm getting better and better at it all the time. That's what I tell myself. But I'm very aware of when I do it, right? So if you have that habit, if and it's hard for you to stop, it's hard for you to break that habit, you almost don't even want to admit it. You don't even want to see it. You don't even want to say it. You don't want to talk to people about it because you don't really want to make the change. And I see this a lot in areas with maybe addiction or, so alcohol or drugs, but even with food, right? Food can be an addiction as well. Or in relationships, right? This self-awareness is again the very first step that you need to learn and understand and start using in your life if you want to improve your relationships, your relationship with yourself, your goals, your body, your health, your finances. You have to become self-aware. And so self-awareness is getting super curious as to why you do the things that you do. So let me give you a few examples of how self-awareness can really help you and benefit you in your life. So, first off, I had already said this, but asking yourself why. Self awareness is getting super curious as to why you behave the way that you do, why you think the way you do, why you feel the way you do. So, an example where self awareness definitely has served me in my life, it's served me everywhere in my life, but let me give you some relatable examples. In my marriage, so if I am upset with my husband or annoyed with him or frustrated with him, the old me used to blame him, not get self aware, rather just get lost in my victim mindset story that made him the villain and me the victim. And there was no solution coming from that, although I thought the solution was him changing, which we can't change people. So, in this journey of becoming more self aware, now when I notice myself getting annoyed or frustrated with him, I pause and I go inward. Not always, Most of the time, I really do most of the time. And sometimes it happens a little later. Sometimes it happens right in the thick of it, which is the best because that's when the awareness comes in so soon and I avoid a fight or further frustration. But I go inward and I ask myself, I take some breaths and I ask myself, I say, hey, why are you frustrated? Why does it bother you when Max does that or when Max says that? And then I answer it, right? Maybe I answer it with that negative story and then that awareness comes in, that loving awareness, and says, do you want to believe that about him? Do you want to believe that about your marriage? And then this soft voice says no, right? Or maybe my awareness comes in and it says, hey, why are you frustrated right now? Talk to me about this first. What's going on? And sometimes I discover it's a projection of my own insecurities or a projection of something that I'm annoyed about in myself and want to improve upon, but it's just easier to pick at him. We all do that shit. And so rather, I've asked myself these questions. And a lot of the time, I will just go to my husband and I'll say, I think the reason why I'm upset about this is because this, and this, or because I created this story in my head, or because I don't like this in myself. And when I see it in you, I get annoyed with you and with me, right? And then we can have this conversation about it. And it's so much better than staying angry or frustrated. It allows for more open communication and it allows for both of us. I have no control over him, but we've had this discussion to stay really curious about our behaviors with each other and why we may act the way that we act. And by the way, when you begin to practice this journey of self awareness, we are all shaped and formed and have our belief systems from all of our history and all of our past experiences. So we have to stay open to getting really deeply curious about, why do I have this belief about myself? Why do I have, such scarcity around money or around love or around health? Where is this coming from? And a lot of times it's how we were raised. And I don't mean that to blame our parents. They also have their history. There is no blame in this game. I do not promote any blame. It is just getting super curious. We're all programmed, okay? We all have learned behaviors that we're not always consciously fully aware of in our adult life. And so self-awareness helps us kind of tap into all of that so we can understand it and then lovingly move forward. So just know that everybody has a past and has a history, and their behavior and their words and what they do and what they don't do is normally coming from some sort of belief system or some sort of past experience that they haven't fully processed through, or that they have, and now it's serving them in the most amazing way. And that is the beauty of self awareness. You get to know yourself better. So you start showing up as your best self more. And when you start showing up as the better version of you, or a better version of you, I don't like to insult the versions we are of ourselves right now, because I truly believe we're all exactly where we're supposed to be. And there's no better way to think about that, or else we're just self critical, and that shit doesn't help. So, let me share some actual practical daily tips that can help you become more self aware. I already shared one, and that is journaling. When you adopt a journaling habit, you get to organize all that shit that's going on in your head. And we have lots going on up there. So if you put it out on paper, you can kind of dissect and get to know, oh, damn, I didn't know I thought that way. You can ask yourself powerful questions like, why? Why do I feel this way? Why did I act this way? What had happened? Where is this coming from? What story am I telling myself? Asking yourself, do I want to believe this? If I could choose what to believe, what would I choose? Right? If I could change this situation, what would I change it to? How can I be appreciative of what has happened rather than negative about what has happened? So journaling, beautiful. All those questions, beautiful. There's so many questions you can ask yourself, but getting it out on paper, you're also 5 times more likely to remember it, and you get to organize a little bit of the chaos and abundance of thoughts going on in your head that you're not aware of. There's no way you're aware of every single thought that you have going on in your head. No way. We are only operating like, this is also could be a whole other thing that we talk about, but we are 4% of the time operating consciously, and 95% of the time we're on autopilot and our subconscious is driving the show. So that's super fascinating. And I definitely want to talk more about this another day. But if you journal, you definitely become more self-aware. Another obvious way, to me at least, is going to therapy or going to coaching, getting a coach. If you have somebody to guide you through the process of getting to know yourself because you don't know quite how to do it, or you just don't know the right questions, or you just aren't ready and you need that helping hand, you need that other perception to kind of see, do I agree with that? What's going on here? What's coming up for me? That is a beautiful, beautiful way to become more self-aware, is asking for help, basically. Get a therapist, get a coach, and start getting curious and be guided through the process. Another way is meditation. When we take time to just sit and try to slow down our mind or quiet our mind, then it allows for so much more self-awareness to take place, because we kind of slow down that busy chatter going on, and we can come into this place where we just feel a bit more peaceful. Now, meditation is also a practice that many people struggle with. And so I recommend lots of apps like the Calm app. It really eases you in to learning how to meditate, guided meditations. That's how I started. So ease your way into these things. And you don't have to do all of these things. At least start, I would say at least start with one. Identify your strengths and weaknesses. That is another way to become more self-aware. So another way to look at this would be like, where is it that you think you're doing great in your life? And where is it where you want to improve upon? So for many of my clients, it's self-worth, self-confidence, their romantic relationships, the way they speak to themselves, their body image. Those are some of the main things that my clients come to me with, their relationship with money, their relationship with family members, all tied to relationships, but the way they react to their emotions. So that oftentimes comes up. So if you begin to understand, what are my strengths and weaknesses, you get to understand yourself better. Well, what are the areas that I really want to improve in my life? Where am I feeling more frustrated in my relationship with my partner? Where am I feeling more frustrated and annoyed or resentful towards myself or towards these people? How can, in that moment when I feel that negative emotion come up, how can I access loving awareness and coming in and lovingly asking why? Having me pause and asking that powerful question of why. But first, you have to figure out, where is it that I want to improve? Where is it that I'm already excelling, right? Okay, I hope that this was helpful. A few other tips just to throw out there that just came to me are, ask the people that you love lovingly for feedback. Where do you think I need to improve? What do you think about me? Asking those sorts of questions. This is also where you have to let your defenses down. You have to be really open-minded, but you also have to know, like, anybody you're asking also has their own belief systems and their own awareness bubble that they're in based on their past experiences. So never to take any of those things fully and as fact, but just, again, to spark new thought. The people that love you and care about you are good people to go to and ask, like, hey, where do you think I could be better, in the most loving way? All right, I hope that this was helpful. Self-awareness is the very first step to improving your life, to making the changes that you want towards your goals and your relationships. And I hope that it was helpful. So go out there and start asking yourself those powerful questions. Get lovingly curious about why you do the things that you do. Notice if judgment comes up. Cut that shit out. That's a process too, but remember, awareness is always loving. Get to know yourself in the most loving way without judgment, and watch your life change. All right. I will talk to you guys very, very soon. Bye.